Alright, hello. This is a mage guide overview character progression video um, for Arcane. So, the way that I'm playing Arcane in Battle for Azeroth patch 8.3, this is a pretty new character. Only has 23 hours played at max level. Obviously, because of the patch, I gotta wait a couple weeks until I'm able to gear up, but the way I'm playing currently is I'm only using arcane missiles. I don't even have Arcane Blast on my bar or Presence of Mind. I haven't used them at all, at max level at least. I was testing a bunch of stuff. Basically, you can do this for yourself. I don't really care to do it, but there's a marginal DPS difference between Arcane Blast spam and Arcane Missile spam. I think from my testing at least, Arcane Blast came out ahead by a bit, but it was so marginal, and Arcane Blast is more annoying to use because you have to like deal with charges and shit, and you don't want to like mess up your Arcane barrage and all this other crap. So I opted to go for an Arcane Missile playstyle. Now the reason that Arcane Blast obviously will be doing the best is due to why a lot of builds are doing the best, which is that if you go to, doesn't matter what mode, if you go to the Azerite gear, you can reliably get this Azerite trait, which is for Arcane Blast, and a Heart of Darkness on every single piece, every single slot. So you can also actually get a Arcane Pummeling Clearcasting, which is what I would be using on every slot, like here. But the thing is that Heart of Darkness is okay. Ideally, I would want Explosive Echo. So right now my gear is obviously extremely bad. But I would want to go triple Arcane Missile, triple Explosive Echo, which you basically cannot do unless there's some sort of PvP gear that does it. There's no Titanium Residium piece you can buy that has, like, I think it's a shoulder. I don't remember. That has the combo of Arcane Pummeling and Explosive Echo, which would have been my ideal setup. That way I could do every single piece of content in the entire game without swapping anything around. Just because this does a shit ton of damage in AoE. But you can go a full clear casting build from Raid. The other reason you go this, because this is more mana efficient than this, because this is a random proc, and this is not. And Arcane has mana issues. That's the only thing that really limits its DPS, is its mana issues. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm opting for an Arcane Missile build because I don't really give a fuck. Currently, I only have, for essences, I have Trash. I bought a Visions. I thought it would be better than it was. It wasn't very good. I farmed this up from the quests, and then I literally don't own another essence. I'm just going to wait to buy stuff with echoes. Next one I'm buying is Lucid. I'm going to try Lucid Major, see what's up. I know the Arcane Blast boys obviously run haste buff from Life Force or like Worldbane or something, but I'm concerned about the mana efficiency of the build at high haste levels with Arcane Missiles because it doesn't have a trait that is as consistent for mana efficiency as Arcane Blast does with this. It's worth noting that this is okay, but it's adding the damage and first of all, the charge generation RNG is actually really annoying. I haven't tested this thoroughly, but I imagine that it's very frustrating, just like this talent is very frustrating to use because you have to like monitor your charges and it's not mathematical. And second of all, the damage it adds is negligible, and you might as well just run this, which literally adds more damage. So yeah. Anyway, ideal essence setup that I'm thinking of that I have not been able to test is Lucid Major, Visions Minor, Lethal Strikes Minor, and then I don't know the other minor slots, so maybe just Conflict, maybe, because I'm going to be running a haste first build, so I'll probably just run Conflict. The ideal gear setup for this character to do all content in the game equally. And that's the other thing. Arcane Blast uses Mastery. That's the other thing. You can actually go Mastery for an Arcane Blast build, which you can't go for Missiles. So that also makes it mana efficient. And once again, the problem is mana for maximum DPS. So, and then obviously going Lucid Major is probably not going to be good enough to solve the mana issues. But I'm wondering if it'll help with the playstyle that I have. Ideally, all gear is haste verse, equal, doesn't really matter. You want like 60 to 80% haste with buffs. I mean, I'd probably go claw, but you can also go Raden dragon scale. And then you run verse corruption is the ideal, which obviously I probably will never get to because I don't know how long I'm going to play this. But you run a ton of verse corruption, and it makes you good at high M plus because you're tanky, and it makes you good at PvP because you're tanky, and it also still gives you flat damage. And because you're arcane missiles, you don't need mastery, and crit is like okay. It's okay on big arcane blasts in AOE, and I think that's about it. So you can go look up whatever the gear you fucking want for that. So you just go all verse corruption, haste verse gear, 40 to 60% versatility. And then like 60 to 80% haste is ideal for the character. So in terms of the rotation that I'm doing, basically you just arcane power, arcane missiles. I have this talent set up, and you on the first setup you just spam arcane missiles straight. I run slipstream for the extra mobility. I'm testing it out. Having blink on a GCD is complete detrimental, but you can blink out of stuns, which does happen in certain dungeons. And evoke while moving is pretty nice. I obviously haven't got a clear casting proc, so this is pretty bad, but I also wanted to try mana shield, but yeah, you can obviously just run shimmer, which is pretty good. So here I've hit my mana bed. I'm going to use that. I got a clear casting proc, so I'm just gonna wean this mana out, use an arcane barrage here to get to 15k mana. I got another clear casting proc, so I'm gonna do the exact same thing. But basically the idea is here, that was pretty bad, I should use something there. You evocate at minimum mana, you wanna waste all your mana. That's your first evocate done. And now you go back to spamming, but now your next goal is to basically make it to your next evocate, which is in a minute. Oh yeah, I forgot to say I should probably run Inefables with this build, but I don't really know about that. I have Arcane Power up. So the way that you make your mana more efficient is by using an Arcane Barrage in between every missile, and that it basically slows down your gameplay significantly, but it makes you like regen mana in the meantime, and your goal is to stall to an evocate. So here I'm going to use my Reaping Flames and a barrage, and I'm going to be regenerating mana, and then I'm going to missile barrage. And this is a sort of like infinite setup that I basically just made up on the fly to stall until evocate, basically till cooldown. So I forgot to mention I should probably run 2 Inefables, specifically 2, maybe 4, but probably 2. 2, because you're such a cooldown focused character. So at this point, I just want to weave missiles in between barrages. Other talent choices to talk about. I'm running Reverberate because Nether Tempest sucks, and I can't use Touch of the Magi because I literally don't use Arcane Blast. Overpowered is the best. I tried Time Anomaly, and it's just too awkward to use. I don't really like it. Maybe if it procced the Evocate more, it would be better, but Arcane Orb I have not tried. It might be good, who knows. I'm also not running Charged Up because I'm not using Arcane Blast. So I actually have Arcane Power, I wasn't paying attention, and I have an Evocate, so now since I safely have my Evocate, I can just drain my whole mana bar out and not give a fuck. Maximum DPS is just spamming Arcane Missiles. If I really care, I can make a Arcane Blast display. I just don't really want to right now, but I should be doing a similar amount of DPS. And I randomly got put into PvP again, so that's cool. Anyway, I'll Evocate here, because I shouldn't have shot that barrage, but I basically Evocate here. I channel it full because I have the trait for it, but I don't really want that trait, so hopefully I can get rid of that. And then of course I run Amplification because of the clear casting trait. Adding the extra missile actually makes it do even more damage. So that's kind of like mandatory if you're a missile build. Chrono Shift is utility, and Cantress Flow is ease of use. Rune of Power might be good, but I don't really care. I'm not really going for that. So technically I fucked up here. This might get sketchy in terms of my mana because I spammed a bit too many arcane missiles. So now I'll play a bit more conservatively, and then I'm going to use Arcane Power. Arcane Power is actually a mana save. You can think of it as a max DPS while also conserving mana, so that's why I wanted to run Inefables, because it's also a mana save cooldown. And obviously the max DPS this character can do is Arcane Missile every single global. So the more you can Arcane Missile, the more DPS you're going to do. The advantage of this build over Arcane Blast is that you basically don't have to worry about anything, and you're not gated behind your Arcane Barrage usage at all. And if you use an Arcane Barrage for Chrono Shift for move speed and mobility, when you have Arcane Blast, you basically troll your whole DPS. But now with Slipstream 2, which is currently bugged, if you try to use Slipstream, it'll literally not work. It does not let you cast while moving sometimes on Evocate or Arcane Missile. So now I have, once again, Evocate up, so I'm just going to burn through my mana and then Evocate. If I get a clear casting proc, I usually use it just to extend my mana life as much as possible, and I have Arcane Power coming up, so I'm going to use that soon. Don't use Charged Up because I literally don't need it for anything. Since I'm missiles, see, I should Arcane Power on that. Clear Casting. If you get Arcane Power Clear Casting combo with the traits, huge damage. If you don't, it's kind of sad. So in that sense, this build is way more RNG, but obviously you get to barrage more, and you have to. The main advantage is you literally have no brain. This build takes absolutely no skill beyond a basic rotational usage. So that to me is just a massive advantage in this game, which I hate playing. Yeah. Anyway, I think that is about it for the specific character. This is like obviously very fast, and I don't really care that much because he's only 436 item level, so how the fuck could this be like a real build video, you know? It's not even done yet. There's still much more to test. So anyway, as you can see, I actually don't really run out of mana, but every time I Arcane Barrage, I'm losing a bit of DPS, and the maximum DPS of this build is Arcane Missile every global, so I'm working on a way to make that happen, but I don't think it'll be possible with high haste values, so yep, that'll be fun. Anything else to say for now? I don't really think so. So Arcane Power's up. Use that. I should probably get an add-on to track it with my current setup. It's kind of hard to see. So as you can see, I'm sitting on Evocate. This is why I don't want the Evocate trait, because I basically the other maximum damage of this build is to never Evocate. Arcane Power is great to press, Evocate is awful to press. So here I can actually get an Arcane Barrage in, and I can probably get another missile in, so I'm just going to do that. And then I Evocate. Now I actually hit full mana before the Evocate's done, a couple seconds, so because I have the trait, I'm trying to full channel to get the buff, but basically it's suboptimal for the playstyle. So as soon as I can get rid of that trait, and I can play more optimally. Yep. I guess there's one more thing I should say. Anyway, right now I'm doing like 34k. I think if I had Arcane Blast with the same traits I have, which are literally, I actually have 2 Heart of Darkness and I have no Corruption, so that's literally useless. And I put it in because I don't really give a fuck. I don't know what else is there yet. I'm not using that, and I'm not using that. But yeah, so Arcane Barrage, Explosive Echo, and a Clear Casting. So if I went Arcane Blast, I'd probably do a bit more damage. I'd probably 35k at the end here instead of 33k about. But the practicality of Arcane Missiles is way better. And if you run Slipstream, you can cast while moving, kind of, which is useful in certain situations. Though I think Shimmer is better in other ones. Like on Zanish, I think Shimmer is better because you can like plan out the Torment blinks very easily. And off GCD Blink is really helpful, but I just did a Waycrest earlier, and the boss, where is this fucking guy? Is it this guy? Yeah, this Soulthorn stuns you. You can blink out of this stun. You can probably blink out of the, I haven't played it yet, but the Sethralis stun as well on this boss. So blink out of stun is actually really useful, and I have not been able to test it thoroughly, of course, because it's only 23 hours played, but yeah. The final thing I'll say, if you're doing AoE, if you have more than 4 targets, or like 5, maybe more than like 5 or 6 targets, then you should just spam Arcane Explosion. But if you have like 5 targets less, you should weave in Arcane Barrages all the time. I'm running Resonance because I don't need these two for my build. This is actually so bad. It's not even that good normally. And this is just a CC, which is kind of useful, but yeah, so this is super good to use. You can actually outdamage your Arcane Explosion with your Arcane Barrage on certain pulls, which is pretty cool. If you're on 2 target, this is the big one, if you're on 2 target cleave, I have been opting to Arcane Explosion, Arcane Barrage. And then when I get a clear casting proc, I use it on the missile because of the trait and this. So that's kind of important, but I really don't know. It might be better to just spam single target. I have not gotten a good, because I don't think there's like a 2-target cleave dummy here. Anyway, yep. Utility of the build, cast while moving, make use of Chrono Shift. I don't think there's a 2-target. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's the build so far. Thanks for watching. Yep. Do a /wave. See you later, dudes.